but behind closed doors, I'm a fool for your love.
Hey guys, in this video I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. Don't think many people have done what I'm about to embark on, and that is fitting an upstairs to my van. For those of you who don't know, I live in my van full time, and that wasn't really the plan when I built this thing. It was just supposed to do one trip and then get rid of it, but somewhere down the line I fell in love with the van and the lifestyle, and here I am. So the past couple of months has basically been upgrading the van in lots of important areas to suit full-time living. One thing that's always bugged me about this van is the bed, which is the sofa. So on this section the whole thing slides out, this cushion then slots in there, and then you put your bedding on and yada yada. And it works okay. If I was just going on a holiday in it, it'd be manageable. But because I live in it full time, it's a proper pain in the arse, to be honest. Every night you got to take the table out, get all the cushions off, flip these because these have got bull noses on them, put all the bedding down, hello matey, and turn it into a bed. And here's another issue as well, I'll get onto you in a minute. It's just not ideal. So I really want a fixed bed. Now with the position of the windows in this van, I can't just go and lift it up, same as the cupboards. That's not possible, and I'd lose my sofa then, so that's not really an option. So for a while now, secretly I've been planning on an upstairs bedroom basically. Where the windbreaker is on the cab, I've been thinking of taking that off and building an aluminium kind of box on there to basically build like a bedroom. That was going to be quite a feat, to be honest, and was going to take a lot of structural work and quite a lot of money in aluminium and materials. But then flicking through on eBay, a Luton windbreaker come through, the pod that sits on top of the cab and allows it to meet the box. One of those come up for around £80, and it was like, well, I can't really do any better than that. It's shaped way better for aerodynamics than anything I could have made. It's there, it's cheap. Let's go for it, basically. So I bought that a couple of weeks ago. That's been sat up in the unit for a little while, and now has come the time to hit it, basically. I've had enough of this bed, it gives me back problems. A new bed, a whole extra area to chill in, high level, so warmer in the winter. Lance can't get up there, so there won't be any more bloody dog hairs in my bed. Literally the bane of my life right now. Yeah, I'm really excited about it, but it's a lot of work. It is a lot of work. I'm just looking right now at it and thinking, oh my god. This is probably the most ambitious project I've took out on the van so far. It's on par with dealing with the ambulance electrics, I'll be honest with you. There's a lot to think about, there's a lot to do, there's a lot to go wrong. I've got to get it right. But with a bit of thought and some help from some friends, I think we'll do it. First port of call was removing the faulty ambulance air conditioning system. It had never worked since I owned the van, so it was just dead weight, and seeing as it lived in the area where I was putting the new pod, it was in my way. What I hadn't factored in was it all linked to the engine, so it was a bit more involved than I thought. As a little bonus, I managed to rip off the two fans that come off the air conditioning unit and fit them to the radiator grill, seeing as the old fan didn't work. Fit them to a switch in the dash, and away they went. The air conditioning unit didn't have any gas in it, probably why it didn't work, but this disgusting black goop just oozed out of it. But that did make removing it a lot easier.
Yes. It took all day. If you look down there, you can just see where the fiberglass stops and the van's roof is. It's quite a lot of space there with loads of glue, I reckon. So it's going to be fun to get off.
Now come the nerve-wracking no going back part. I'd always count myself lucky that I hadn't put a tree or something through the fiberglass pod. but trying to remove it, it became clear why. It was absolutely solid. So bloody strong. It's just flexing. Oh my god. No wonder I didn't smash it on the tree. Hey? Wow. I soon ditched the caveman approach and went for cutting it instead. Nope. Trust me, I am just as pissed off as you that that whole section was blurry. I had a whole thing planned for that, but it just wasn't worth doing. But it was off. Van looks a bit weird now, doesn't it?
Yeah, something missing.
Well, that's the pod off. It wasn't as bad as I thought, to be honest. Once they started to, cut it into sections, it just started to pull off in bits. But now, what's left is all the goop. Found the antennas, so they're going to need relocating now. Yeah, get all this cleaned up tonight, and then tomorrow, hopefully, be bonding it on.
Ambitious. No, past me, it won't be bonded on tomorrow. There's a lot of work to do.
It's an absolute storm outside, so definitely won't be driving this thing. Jesus. Yeah, definitely not going outside for a little bit. I have to get rid of that fiberglass tomorrow, I reckon. Right, let's get all the goop off.
This job wasn't exactly fun and took forever, but that's the beauty of podcasts and audiobooks. Plunked my headphones in and just got cracking.
It's getting late, so I'm going to stop filming and stuff now. I'm just going to crack on, get the rest of this crap off, get ready for tomorrow when we can put the new pod on. Yeah, it's about what? I think it's about 9 o'clock now. So a couple more hours I think, and then I'll call it a night. So I will see you guys in the morning. The next morning's job was to expose the wiring loom that run across the front, thin it out and try and figure out a way to tuck it up out of the way. Then I could start hacking away at the metal and make the entrance hole into the pod bigger. Oh, a bit dark now. A bit bloody dark. Not much better. So what I'm thinking of doing is getting rid of this here, cutting up and back a little bit to give some more room in. Yeah, and cutting down at least halfway here, getting rid of a bit there. Oh, it's tough. It's tough. They're up there, so they can push up out of the way, I hope. Might have to thin it out a little bit. What are these? They're dead. Let's cut them out then. Snips. They're up here somewhere. Ha ha ha! Winner! Right, you're not going that way anymore. So you can bugger off. It's all the old radio bullshit. It's all dead. You bugger off up there. A lot of the wires I'm sorting through here are redundant ambulance wires, all dead, completely useless. I was just too lazy to remove them when I built the van, but now that I need to thin this loom out, they've got to go. No longer needed. Oh god, I remember this. Look at that, it's filled. Ah, you lose you then. Totally. With the loom thinned out and pushed out the way, I could now extend the entrance hole. There we go, bigger entrance hole. However, standing up here and cutting it all out, I did push the roof in a little bit, so that needed some fine adjustment. There we go. Oh, right, ready for the next day. Currently got no door because the van's the other way around, so that's become storage. Get this pod on.
It looks big when we've seen it on.
No. It's considerably bigger. Slip two in that, right? Shove them in the corner. It's just like banana.
Sleep on top of that.
Yeah. Yeah, let's turn this on. For what I paid for the cap, it was obvious it wasn't going to come in pristine condition. There was a bit of damage that needed repairing, but it was salvageable. Yeah. So I've got them. But it was made for my exact van, so in theory it should just slot straight on. Back. You can do it. But obviously if I start taking 2 inches out of either side, it's going to be a bit... But yeah, you can get...
Snug.
Yeah.
Good job you're both small. Good.
Yeah. Little brackets. Oh, they fitted it. That's good like that.
I think you've got room for a big air horn beside there.
Oh,
as well.
yes. Get me train horn back.
You know, like you can press it for.
Yeah. Ooh.
It's
Many, many toys. It's gonna be so much easier as well routing from the cab to the box now. Before there was just...
The first of many trial fits. Due to its awkward size and weight, it was a bit awkward getting it off and on, but between three, we could just about manage it.
oh, hang on.
Hang on, mate.
Yeah, hold it with a brush. Oh. So,
Oh no, my paintwork. Oh.
Will it?
Why is it not going back anymore?
you know why? It's like marker lights.
So mark lights. Oh, not dropping them down.
Right.
Oh.
They got to come off.
Would it lean over one side? So you could slip.
I'll just leave it where it is, but do them from inside.
You can't, they're screwed on the outside.
Are they?
And the screws are open on the top. That would just...
Slide it over to George then maybe.
And like will it sit on the roof behind? Will it sit straight up and sit on the back on the roof?
Nah, because the solar panel under.
You've got room to go this way, definitely.
Go on then, bring it along the way.
Okay. Is that alright?
Yeah,
Yeah,
put it down there, yeah.
Alright, give me a second then. Oh. That's weird because you see these on them.
Tea, please.
Have a tea, please.
In case you missed that, the side marker lights on the roof were holding the pod off, so they had to be removed.
On your side, George? Oh, it's got to go over.
Over loads. What it is.
What's the quarter?
It's the distance between that and that.
What's the quarter?
Like that, because that back edge must sit over the back of the cab. Therefore, the loop body that come off must have been set further back. The gap must be wider.
Good. Yeah, it should be alright.
Oh no, yeah, it's tall.
Yeah, it's tall.
The problem that we have now is that my ambulance box must have sit further forward than the Luton boxes do, so the pod can't go back enough to latch over the roof. This set us back a little bit. We had to stop and have a bit of a think and come to the conclusion that we needed to cut the returns off the back of the pod and trim it enough to let it sit back as far as it needs to go.
That black thing there.
Oh, that. Yeah, that can come off. That's bolted. Yeah, that's alright. That's all. Yeah, that's holding it off as well, isn't it? It's got a long way to come back, though, isn't it? Long way.
Paul's right though, if you can get it smack off, it will sit lovely on that edge.
Yeah, cut them returns off. It'll come back, won't it? Oh, that's what we'll have to do then. Awesome. Probably save about 40 quid an hour bracket.
This did change my whole plan of how to attach the pod on, but after fabricating some brackets, it actually worked in my favour, saving me having to buy 5 metres of hefty L bracket and would also sit a lot better on the van.
It's been throwing up all the issues trying to get this square and that corner square on the body down. We've just realised that between this bit and this bit, there's a 10mm difference on the whole box. So my box isn't square. Sat in the gutter now.
This is where you
Yeah. Please don't fall. Oh yes. That'll do. After many hours of faff, it finally started to sit right. So it come back down, ready to be cleaned up, repaired and sanded back ready for paint. Oops. We used Isopon P40 to repair the fiberglass. Good stuff, but bloody hell are they stingy. The tin was only half full. Yeah?
You're not going to see it here.
Nah. We filled the back first and let it go off. Then once it's set, we had a good base to start filling the front. Lovely. Anything else? I've got a little bit left. Yeah. While that was being done, I got onto the custom brackets that I mentioned earlier to attach the side pieces of the pod to the van. Using some aluminium angle, I bent it to 45 degrees. This had then set on the front corners of the van's box, which are also 45 degrees, giving me a flat base to bond the pod to. Whilst everything else was drying, I got onto the aluminium sections that make up the back pieces of the pod. The rear wall that had 2 windows sank into it and the rear side flares. I'd drawn solid lines for my cut lines, but also dotted lines, and this was to take it down to a place Paul knew that would professionally bend it in a brake press. This would give me 90-degree returns to bond and bolt to, saving having to pop rivet and run the risk of having leaks. The guys in this workshop had some serious tools. The brake press alone folded this aluminium like it was paper.
Frames and all sorts.
Aye, where's the sign? Oh, I ain't got one.
Crack in place. I charged a £5, I gave him a tenner. And we've got some bent brackets now.
Now that all the fiberglass repair had set, we could sand it back, get it filled and finished.
Top corner. Oh, that.
Yeah, to be fair, I think I'll get them with when I seal it all up. Softy. That paint is pretty good, you know, though, that military stuff. Yeah. It, yeah, I'm gonna roller it on. Fuck it. Oh. So it's currently about 11:15 at night. We're gonna carry on through the night, had a few beers, got pizza in. About ready to go for the glue on. There's pod Slaphead, or some people are calling it the Elvis. However, because there's been a bit of faffing around and extra time taken to like bend metal and figure it all out, it's been a bit more involved than I thought. Paul and George have had to go. I've just got the roof prepped and panel wiped, but now there's no one here to help me lift this big bastard on, and it's about a 3-man job really. So I'm gonna have to ring around or ask next door. Whilst I was waiting for an extra pair of hands, I started doing little jobs that'd be easier down on the floor, like fitting the new light bar brackets. While I'm waiting to figure out how to get that on, call some people around, I'll give you a bit of a walkthrough on what's been going on. Because I haven't really been doing much to camera, it's been that involved figuring stuff out, I haven't really been doing anything to you guys. So, all this has been stripped back, prepped, cleaned, ready for the bonding. Wires have been relocated and moved, like the marker lights, that's what that is there. They've been dropped back in. I was going to stick them back in, but to be honest, they look like in Shrek ears, so they're not going back on that. I bought some little circle LEDs that will sit nice and flush inside and look a lot better. So the wiring for that's been rerouted. Headliner's got to come down so I can fix the bedboard in once the pod's on. I'm going to do it in 3 sections. That is so A, it gets through the cab hatch, and I can actually do it in sections, and B, so it has roots for breather. I want to make sure that that mattress when it goes in can breathe, and where the old legs were on the pod, they're down there pretty knackered, to be honest. They're not going back on, so we're going to shape them with a flat face and put vents in. They will sit here. Might even put some 12-volt PC fans in there, one up, the other side out, and that will let the mattress breathe. The 2 panels I've just had bent, they're going along here. They're square at the minute, but they will taper off down to a point. That's why this has been sanded back for something to key to. Then slots in there, fills this gap where the cap comes to. Same on the other side, and then there's that big 2-meter sheet down there. But once they're on and it's glued and we've got the dimensions and make sure everything's okay, that can be double checked, bent, and that will fit in there. Bolt to this section here, come up, have its bent return that will latch onto the bottom of the cap. And that's basically how it's going to go really. So we'll have them. It's sort of the aesthetics that is, but it's also strength. That will be getting like super bonded on, because the last thing I want to do, if I hit the brakes hard and my bedroom goes flying off the front of the van, I ain't going to be happy. The hatch, I'll be honest, is a little bit small. It is a little bit small, and I can't go any lower. I can probably take that lip off there that was keeping to put the new trim on once everything's done, but I think I'm going to have to get rid of that. I can't go any further back on that face because there's a wiring loop, and that needs somewhere to go, and it needs a cap to cover. So I can probably get away with that 1.5 inch, 2 inch lip. I can get rid of that. Other than that, that's how the hole's going to be. So it's going to be a little bit of a squeeze, but kind of replicates the micro door that's underneath it into the cab. Once everything's on, I've got the paint to give it a good coat of paint, and that'll be it really. The interior won't be getting done straight away. I've got some things to figure out. I've got some money to save up for. I've got jobs to get to next week, so it's literally a case of getting this thing on, getting it watertight, make sure the vehicle could drive again. Hopefully it'll get out of the door. Yeah, and then at a later date there'll be a second video out to show you how I do the interior. Haven't figured that out yet, what insulation to do, how to strengthen it. There's a lot to figure out there, and it's all got to be done in sections small enough, to get through that hatch and in. I'm not making it easier for myself. We're not there yet because I haven't got people here to help me lift it on. You're not going to help, are you, buddy? Hey? Oh, literally, as I'm on the camera now, I've just got a message from Ash saying he can be down here in an hour. So, might have Ash up here to help me lift this thing on. I think 2 of us will just about do it. Right, we're going for the penultimate bonding on. Ugh.
Did you focus this time?
It is in focus this time. I can't believe I did that for the cutting off. here we go, the final fit. Pull turned back up as well, so we had 3 pairs of hands. The stuff I'm using here is PU sealant. It's what they use to fit windscreens and fiberglass parts to vehicles. It dries as like a rubber, so it's got a little bit of flex in it, but it's the strongest thing known to man. It starts to dry in 30 minutes and can even be painted over at that time once it's skinned, so once this thing's on, there's no going back.
I want to put my finger in it. Yeah. All right.
Just adjusting my left hand.
There we go. Good.
You lined up your side.
So, yeah, you'll go. Come. Let's go. You'll be able to wiggle it a bit. Down like that. Yeah. Go. Very good.
Light bar wise.
You're in the rain channels, isn't you?
Hey, Tom.
No going back.
No going back.
I think it was no going back when you took a sledgehammer to the other bit, wasn't it?
Everyone's calling it the Elvis though.
Yeah. Get a little sticker there, thank you very much.
Yeah, very much.
So the van is 310, the door is 320.
With the pod now on and dried, I can start getting the rest of the panels on, like my side flares that have now been cut to taper down to the roof. I think it's time to paint so it doesn't look as ridiculous as it does at the moment. We have started a few beers though, so I mean, beer, paint and ladders. What could go wrong?
Tú y yo, queriéndonos como locos iconos, somos los dos. Tú y yo, queriéndonos, dámosmelo en el trono. Oh, baby, estoy loco por ti.
Big question now, will it fit out the door?
What's your verdict, mate?
You know, it's going to be funny. Is it worth me standing on the ladders next to it or something?
Say again?
Would it be worth me standing on the ladders?
Yeah, if you could, yeah, definitely put an extra pair of eyes on it and just shout if it's going to hit. Sorry lads. Yeah?
It's not 30 centimetres in the room.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh sound. I'll probably spin it around actually, I'll back it in that's all. All that worry over nothing. As the van comes out either way, it hits the slope and drops out of the way of the door. The only casualty was Lance's toy. burning off some of the crap now that it's outside. Dual antisocial van.
This job is great at like shows now.
Oh yeah.
Turn sirens on,
Yeah.
smoke pissing out.
Yeah. Yeah, once they've been painted, definitely it'll look more meant. Yeah. She'll work.
Si lo sentiste, pues fui yo, la de tus sueños, la